Hello and welcome to the Weekly Fix. I'm your host Zane, joined with my good friend Jacob, and we're happy this week. And you know why we're happy? Because Invincible is back, and man, was it fun! We also have some interesting Star Wars news that is potentially true, potentially not. So maybe I shouldn't say news, maybe theories, and then also some sharing some of the old things that are new in our lives. So, to start off, as always, Jacob's computer. Guess what? It's not fixed. So he's still on his cell phone. So if you're still with us after that announcement, thanks. If you're like, hey, stop dropping these until he fixes his microphone. Hit us up at all the places. You know where to contact us. It's in the description. But without further ado, Jacob, did you have a good week?
I had a good week overall. I will say one thing that very much let me down in the collecting world this week, and I have to speak on it, was they had finally showed off the new Star Wars NFTs, and they were hot garbage. Very disappointed for that because I've been waiting for those things since NFTs became a thing in the Funko world. But you know what? We're just going to have to keep waiting because these are not it. But other than that, you did hit on it perfectly. Invincible is back, and I got to say, I did not remember how abruptly the last season ended until I watched this first episode. I was like, how did they end it in the middle of the season like that? So that was funny to kind of have that realization. But overall, it was a pretty good week.
Okay, good week. Now you said your scams from Funko Pop, the worst thing they
No,
do
no,
was a
no.
disappointment. What specifically was a disappointment about the drop? Because he seemed
They just looked awful. They're so boring and basic. And man, if you have NFTs, like we've gotten so many good Funko Pop NFTs, I think they are such a good idea. They're so cool looking. I love the rarity and the exclusivity of them, but these just sucked. There's no reason to even go after them. And not to mention, we already know how terrible shipping is in the United States nowadays. These are all going to be deluxe size pops. So those pops already go through much more turmoil in shipping because it's like FedEx plays soccer with those boxes when they have them at the facility. So not only are they terrible, but if you do happen to get one, it's going to show up damaged. Overall, it was just terrible. I don't even want to, just let's move on. This just is
man,
breaking my heart all over again.
man, putting Jacob in a bad mood to start the podcast.
Yeah,
Man, what
man.
is this Echo review?
It might as well be. That's how upset I was about these NFT Funko Pops. But, there's
Well,
always next time. It'll save me. I can spend money on something else now, like maybe trying to fix my computer.
hey, I'm all on board on that. If anyone out there has computer troubleshooting skills, hit up Jacob at his
Yeah,
X,
shoo.
at his Instagram, leave a comment on his YouTube. Help the man out.
I've tried
He,
everything so far, but we're going to keep trying.
or keep shooting in the dark until we buy a new one.
Yep. That might be, I'm not saying that I can't fix it, but I might not be able to, if it means I have to get a whole new
Oh,
computer. I mean,
oh no! Sorry, we just
oh,
couldn't fix it. We just couldn't do
yeah, it's
anything
just
with
done
it.
for. Yep, I
Uh,
might as well just throw it away.
That's awesome. That's awesome. But to get to our main topic, and I wanna hop right into this. Full warning: Invincible, season 2, episode. This is season 2. Yep.
Yep,
Season
season
2,
2.5.
episode 5. Full spoilers. There will be no. This will be your non-spoiler review right here. It was incredible. All right, now to spoilers. Jacob, what did you think?
Like I said, man, I forgot how abruptly season 2 ended our first time around. When we got back into this episode, I forgot how much turmoil was really going on. And then they really don't slow it down any. It almost feels like this could have been a season finale in and of itself with how much craziness was going on. I mean, everyone's in dire needs right now. I'm actually, I hate saying this because it kind of sounds bad, but like it's cool that they actually killed off some people in this episode. I was like, all right, we're getting right back into the swing of things. We're back in, prime peak Invincible, like when season 1 was going on, people just dying. We're right back into that. And I really liked that, not feeling like a lot of these characters had plot armor, because I think plot armor can sometimes be really bad for a show. So showing that they were willing to kill off some characters in this episode was really cool to me. But overall, I'm really excited for the season. I think there's a lot of great things to talk about this episode, and we're not going to get ahead of ourselves, but my man Alan woke up, and he is
Whoop,
bigger and
whoop.
badder than ever, but we'll get there. We'll get there. But overall, it was such an awesome episode, and I forgot how much I loved that show until I watched that episode, and I was like, man, how did we go this long, being left on a cliffhanger in the middle of a season? That better never happen again. But yeah, it was awesome.
Oh, it definitely will happen again. Amazon's making some terrible decisions. Speaking of which, um, the ads.
Oh, dude, I've already upgraded.
You upgraded? Oh, dude,
Yes,
I am so mad.
it's $3. I said, you know what? It ain't worth it. I watched that episode, and that was the first time I've experienced ads on Amazon. And anytime if Netflix, if I don't always keep Netflix, I only keep Netflix for when there's a show I'm actively watching or something like that's going on. I go ahead and pay the extra $4 or $5, whatever it is, to get rid of those ads because I hate them. I hate them so much.
I'm just
And
so
that first
mad.
episode. Oh, dude, that episode of Invincible, I will say, at least I don't know if it's random, but where they placed my ads were pretty well placed. Like, they didn't disrupt a sentence, or they were really well placed. But
They
I just was
they
like,
were
nah,
well
I'm not doing
placed,
it.
and I was so mad because like if you would have introduced an ad version of Amazon Prime Video that was less than what I'm already paying, which is excessively high for a streaming service, like come on, like don't take away functions and then say, hey, if you want those functions back, you're gonna have to pay a premium.
Pay more.
Like, I know you were paying, this much for it, but guess what? We're actually going to strip that away. It's like you go to Chick-fil-A and they're like, hey, I know you're used to getting a bun and pickle with this, but if you actually want that, you're going to
It's
have to pay
extra.
$2 extra now.
And you better believe I'd be paying extra for that bun and pickle. But,
Well,
yeah, that really, I didn't realize. I had heard that they were doing that, but I didn't realize it was actually in effect. And then when I was watching that episode, I thought it was weird that I got an ad right before the show started. And I was like, oh, maybe that's just, maybe that's it. And then I had another 2 ads throughout the show, and I was like, all right, you can have my $4 because I'm not doing this.
ouch. Yeah, you're part of the problem. I'm going to hold strong and just complain about it every chance I get.
You enjoy that ad next time when something really important is happening. You got to watch a minute worth of ads.
It's just the principle of the fact. It's
I
just the
agree.
principle of the fact that they added it. They took away a feature and didn't and expecting me to pay more for the same thing. If they would have said, even if they would have added a feature like, hey, you're going to get access to all premium content, like new, or you're going to get a discount on theatrical releases like first drop. Something. Give us something. Don't just strip stuff.
Oh, no, they were definitely going from, they're money hungry right now, but you know what?
Frustrating.
It worked on me.
anyway, back to Invincible. My Amazon rant is over. Picking back up with Mark, and his stepbrother, right? Stepbrother.
Yep.
Man, what an interesting dynamic has been posed for the future of this season and going forward. How he's going to interact with him, and his mom really took that significantly better than I thought she was going to.
It almost seems as though this is something she had been planning for a while. Like, I don't know if maybe even one of the reasons that Nolan had Mark come visit them was just in case something like this were to happen. Mark was kind of already aware of the situation. So it might have seemed like that might have been a conversation they had in those days that Mark was there or whatever.
Oh, I'm talking about Mark's mom.
Oh, Mark's mom. Yeah, she did take that a lot better. I thought that was kind of a weird dynamic. I thought you were talking about what is his, does he have a name? The little purple guy? I don't think he even has a name yet.
Did they name him yet?
I don't think so. We can call him Ralph for the time being.
Ralph?
So, Little Ralph.
Little Ralph. Okay, little Ralph brother man. Yeah, no, Debbie took that well. Which I'm super interested. I expected to see a little bit more anger, but I think she was just so excited to see Mark back that some of that was subsided.
Well, it was really just strange overall, like you said. Like, she was willing. She had just got back at her job. They kind of made a point of emphasis at the beginning of the episode, like that guy that dropped her off. I forget what his name was. Maybe it was Peter or Pete or something like that. I don't know. But he was like, "Hey, we're happy to have you back. Here's his bottle of wine, la di da di da." So it seems like she's finally getting her life back on track. And then just to be so willing to put it back on pause again for not even her kid, I did think that was a little strange. So
But, it was really for Mark. She's doing that for Mark so that Mark can
100%.
have a real life and so that he doesn't give up his life for another one of Nolan's mistakes, which, at this point, she's just completely sacrificial for Mark. And I really hope that she doesn't become bitter towards Mark toward the end of the season, but really holds that moral compass of that motherly figure in his life, because he's definitely going to need it as the show progresses.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Now, how fast do you think they're going to age this brother?
I don't think it's going to be super quick. Obviously, it's going to be more normal, like more than a normal human, but I don't think they're going to rush it. I think they're going to make us deal with him being the little kid in the house for a while and kind of making almost Mark be a babysitter to him in a sense. I feel like that's going to be something that we could see going forward of him getting himself in trouble and Mark having to clean up a lot of his messes. I could see maybe by like, middle of next season that we start to see him like a real change, or maybe at the beginning of next season, but they might go through a little bit of a time jump or something depending on how the season ends. I definitely think we're going to be stuck with the little guy for the rest of this season in the current form that he is in.
Okay. I wonder. I'm super curious. I think he'll probably be talking by the end of this season for sure.
Well, because how many episodes are we supposed to have? Is it just
Only
another
3
four or
more.
five? Only three.
Yeah.
So it was 4 total. Yeah, I just don't see him, really progressing that far because they did say he ages quicker. But I mean, you saw that his mom, his biological mother, she was old. I mean, she was, about to call it quits for her life, and he was still about looking the exact same. So I kind of feel like it'll be a little while. I
Okay.
mean, they said about
And
two
we knew that
months
had
had
been three.
passed.
Yeah, 2.5 months.
So yeah, and he really hadn't changed a whole lot. So maybe he'll start saying a couple words by the end of the season. But I would be really surprised if they do jump it that far ahead. I feel like this will be a point that they really try to drive home of making Mark deal with that as well as his superhero duties.
Okay, that's interesting. It's a aspect of the show I'm actually not super thrilled about. Um, that's such a weird dynamic for Nolan to go off world and have another son, and then now Mark has to take care of him. It is a plot beat that will drive the show forward and probably maturing Mark quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Having to care for this younger brother, but it's not one that I'm super happy with. What do you like? Do you like this aspect of the
No,
show?
I do not like it. I think it's going to be, like I said, I think they're going to make this a big point in the show, and I think it's going to be really, really annoying that this little kid is going to be getting himself in trouble if things happen the way in my mind they're going to happen. I think it's going to be really annoying, and it's going to be like just unneeded. But like you said, I think they are going to use it to kind of mature Mark in a sense and make him just a more mature character overall because he still does have a lot of kid aspects about him. And you kind of see that with when he does get back to Earth, he just wants to go talk to his girlfriend, which, that's fine and all. But with the dire, he had just seen his dad, who a lot of people didn't know even was still alive. You would think, a more mature person might go and talk to Cecil and these other guardians of the globe, like, hey, there's going to be these people coming and we got to prepare. But no, he did not care about that at all. So I do
Not
think they're
even a
going to use
bit.
this as a point to mature him rather than, continue to let him just kind of care. I'm not saying that he's selfish because I think he does do a lot for other people, but he does still put himself first in a lot of those scenarios.
Yeah, which will be interesting. We'll see. Man, I'm so excited for the rest of the show because man, I kind of want to just jump to the ending, with where it got left off. You
Yeah.
touched on it with some characters dying. That entire fight with the Lizard League when Duplicate and
Yeah.
what is the shrinking girl's name?
I could literally for the life of me could not remember what her name was the entire episode too. I kept trying it and I feel like they never said it. I was like, what is her
Shrinky
name?
girl.
Yeah,
And
something
then
like that.
and then Rex. That was
Yep.
crazy. That entire time, I was like, dude, she's gonna get wrecked. Like she's
Yep.
like, I literally thought Duplicate was gonna die because I was like, man, that original girl is just gonna like they're gonna grab that one time
Exactly.
and
Yep.
she's gonna be gone. And then it happened, and I was like, oh my goodness, that
It's
was
like I said,
crazy.
it one of those things you kept thinking wasn't going to happen. Like, surely they don't kill a character right now.
Like
And
right
lo
off the
and
rip.
behold, it happens. Like, just kind of quickly, too. There's
And
no,
not
like,
even
pause
one.
about it.
And
Yep.
then
That's what I was saying.
Shrinking Ray, that's her name, Shrinking Ray. She dies right after by the same dude. I was like, oh, holy cow, what is going on? And then I
Yeah.
thought they were going to kill Rex, but they kind of left that on a cliffhanger. What do you think's going to happen there with him?
Nah, I think he's going to make it. I think he's going to be a really important part of the show moving forward. And I think this is going to be, which I think Rex's character is obviously there for comedic relief a lot of the time. But I think this is going to be a point, I think they're going to do a lot of maturing with the rest of this season going on. I think we're going to see him kind of take on a different role because he's lost these two people. And if you remember when all this started happening, he kind of put himself in charge. So I feel like he's going to maybe feel a little bit of guilt that he lost two of the Guardians of the Globe under whether they were actually under his command or not. In his mind, they were. So I feel like he might feel a little bit of guilt about that. But, just talking about that scene in general, I thought the fighting was really, really cool. It was really fun to watch. And I'm happy that the Lizard League actually has some good villains because they kind of just been a little bit of a laughing stock throughout the show. But now they're kind of serious. So I think that's going to be another really fun storyline we get to follow, as if we didn't have enough storylines going on in the show already.
Yeah, I was blown away at how bad that scene was for our Guardians of the Globe B team.
Yeah.
Um, but you said you think he's gonna make it. How is he gonna make it? What's gonna allow him to get out of there? You think Cecil's gonna pop up? Like what?
I
Like,
don't
and
know.
I know he killed everyone except for the one guy, but he's got a gun to his head.
Yeah, so I personally don't think it's going to be Cecil. And another aspect that we haven't talked about on this podcast yet on this episode is Donald. I do think Donald is
Donald.
going to show up in a big way throughout the rest of the season because you hear them talking about, hey, your brain was still intact, so we put you into this robot body. Obviously, we covered you back up with some skin, hoping you wouldn't figure it out, but you did anyway. But hey, listen, you're stronger, you're faster. You have a lot of cool abilities now, and I think he's going to actually kind of show up here. That's what I'm expecting. That's what I kept expecting during that whole scene.
Okay, you
Was
expect
Donald to kind of
Donald.
show up.
You
I
expect
do.
Donald to show up and save the day for Rex. That's
Yes,
interesting. That's super interesting.
because they emphasize, hey, you're stronger, you're faster, you have some abilities now. I kind of could see him, jumping to it, testing his abilities a little bit here, which I would really like to see because I think Donald's a really fun, interesting character.
I can see them doing that a little bit later. I don't see them doing that without showing him use his abilities first. Like, I don't see him jumping into action with his abilities to save the day, like in this scenario, as much as I would see him like training and then being used. I don't think they would pop right to that.
Well, I guess what I'm envisioning with him saving the day is more so not necessarily him going like toe to toe fist fighting with this leader of the Lizard League. More so him maybe, we see in movies in the past where, some figure will grab somebody's wrist that's holding the gun to somebody's head and just completely, pull their wrist away from the head. I could see something like that happening.
Okay.
Just him showcasing that little bit of that robotic strength that he might have now. I don't
hadn't even
necessarily
thought
see
of
him
that.
just going fighting toe to toe with these guys yet. I do think that is coming, but I could see it maybe just being a little bit of a subtle thing. Like, okay, Donald does have some strength now, which I think would be cool to see.
That would be really cool and super interesting because I hadn't even thought about that at all. I was really interested by his reaction, getting to see more of his emotion, getting to see his questioning of Cecil's judgment and playing God and allowing him to make decisions. Kind of almost wishing he would have died there. And then, his nightmares that he was experiencing, all crazy interesting. And I know we talked about it the last time, but that was one of our most wanted to answered question, like what's going on with Donald. And so it was really nice to go ahead and get that answer, like fully answered. And
yeah,
then
for sure.
I think one of the tough things that he may be having as well is that he saw where that suit came from. This came from Sewer Man, that was like making those abominations at that
Yep.
college in the
Yep.
first season. So like he knows that. Like he didn't forget that. So that also may be playing into his head that he's one of those abominations. Now clearly he's got his thoughts back, but that still has to weigh on you. And just kind of like what it means to be alive.
Oh, for sure. And you see this a lot in this type of show. In his mind, that could have been a very heroic death that he went through. Sometimes taking away something like that from somebody can really, he had come to terms with the fact in that moment he was going to die there with Omni Man. And then it
Yeah.
turns out that he hadn't. So I could definitely see that being a big plot point moving forward. But you talked on Cecil, and I really continue to like that character. I talked about it so much in the first season, the beginning of the second season. I think he's such a cool character. I love his teleportation device that he uses. I think it's really, really cool. I could see a lot more coming from Cecil this season too. Obviously, he's kind of pulling a lot of strings behind the scenes. I think that we haven't even seen yet. But I'm excited about that character too. I really enjoy when he's on the screen.
Yeah, I think he's so intriguing because he's this mortal walking among gods, and it's like, hey, like, how in the world have you acquired this amount of position and power, orchestrating all of this? Really, kind of the Nick Fury of Invincible,
Yeah,
but on
yeah.
a greater level, just because of his tactician, like his advanced technology allows him to be on a higher playing field than we've seen in the past from comics.
Well, and who's to say why? Him and Mark disagree a lot. Why does Mark respect him so much as to not just kill him? There's a lot of that going on that I'm interested to see more about. Like how, like you said, how did he get in the position of power? How did he gain the respect that he does have among all these colleagues and these people? He's just such an interesting character. Every time he's on the screen, I'm excited to hear what he has to say. Um, he obviously does some things that you don't might necessarily agree with, like keeping microphones in his Mark's mom's house, just keeping an eye on her is what he says, but obviously we know he's doing that just to probably try and get some more information. So he's not as good as he might try to make it out that he is, but he does have a lot of cool aspects about him that I'm interested to hear more about.
And then the last part of the show that I wanted to touch on was where we get left off with obviously Mark and Eve. We got Rudy up there, Immortal, Monster Girl. Who else is up there?
Shapeshift is up there.
Shapesmith. Is it Shapeshift or
Shapesmith, yeah.
Shapesmith?
I think it's Shapesmith. It might be Shapesmith.
And
And
then
then the new character that I can't remember his name, but he's one of the guys that can fly.
knock off Invincible.
Yeah, kind of.
Well, he took the suit that wasn't good enough for Mark.
Yes. So, yeah, a really strong crew up there. I really liked, we didn't talk about it a whole lot. I thought Adam Eve was really cool in this episode. It's cool to see her and Mark back together. I think they're a really good dynamic together. Oh, we got to talk about my least favorite character in the entire show, Mark's girlfriend. Absolutely hate. Is it Amber?
You hate Amber?
I hate Amber. Oh my gosh, she is so annoying. She's always like, "Oh, pity me," get over yourself. I mean, your boyfriend's like working on being the strongest superhero and protecting Earth. But I'll digress off of that one.
I mean, she seemed to play it pretty cool after what she has gone through. I mean, he did leave for 2 months, left her alone. She had to deal. I already know. She had to lie. She had to deal with her grandpa passing by herself.
We know where this is heading, Zane. We know where this is heading. She's gonna get with another guy, and it's gonna make Mark sad, and Mark's gonna go on some sort of killing rampage. I mean, it's gonna happen. I already don't like her.
I'm just saying.
Her off next. But,
oh my gosh. This wasn't necessarily her worst showing.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't, but I still don't like her.
One of the problems, getting away from that, I don't want you to hate on Amber too hard. But one of the other things we talked about at the end of last season was how in the world does no one know he's a Martian? And then it was really cool to get like everyone's like, we know you're a Martian, like obviously.
Yeah. Again, that's Cecil, man. I'm sure he was the one that found out before everybody and just let everybody know. But yeah, super cool. I love that I love that scene too, because we kind of felt at the end of that last season, we were like, are they just naive to the fact that
are they stupid?
Back up? Yeah, and no, they just knew all along. So I
which was
really
pretty
did like that
nice.
scene. Yeah, that made it a lot. Yeah.
I also am a fellow Earthling born here on the planet Earth.
Dude, that was so bad, but they did a
Super
good job with
crazy.
it.
That was good, but yeah, I'm super interested to see where the season goes, how they're going to get out of this predicament, how Rex is going to survive if he does, and then how everyone's going to deal with it. So, what's your rating of the first episode
Oh,
back?
I'm gonna give it a really liked it honestly, and it did honestly. It started a little slow for me because obviously we're seeing Mark get back to Earth, all those things, which it needed to happen. So I understand it's starting a little slow, but I'm just gonna go ahead. I'll probably give it. I'll give it a 9. I thought it was really that good. I told you I really liked the aspect of not feeling like all the Guardians of the Globe had plot armor. So that was nice. Now, if we get back into this next episode this coming Thursday, and both of them have somehow lived, I will be very upset, and I will drop my rating of this episode probably down to a 7. But I did like that aspect of no one's got plot armor, everything is fair game. Obviously, with the exception of a few people that have to have plot armor, but I did like that aspect of it. So I'm gonna go ahead and give it a 9.
Yeah, that's a very fair rating. I was leaning on like 8.5. I'm just really disliking how they're handling the kid. Um, which really isn't a massive part of the show, but as we touched on, it's going to be a driving factor. So I'm going to
Yeah.
stick with an 8.5. I don't think it was quite a 9 out of the gate, especially for the amount of weight we had to do. I did love the little touch of Alan there at the end, seeing that he adapted as his race always does.
Yep.
And now he's stronger with a undercover Viltrumite, which was also very cool to see.
Yes.
So that's super interesting seeing where that's going. And now Mark's going to probably have to leave again for the greater good of the cosmos. Which as we can see, it is having repercussions on his family at home and his personal life. Being a galactic savior does not allow too much for a family. So
It's going to be interesting to see how they balance everything out. Like you said, I loved having Alan back. I love that he's bigger and stronger than he was before. Thought that was such a cool scene. And then we see the we see the undercover Viltrumite rip his beard off, and Alan's like, "Oh my gosh, you're a Viltrumite!" I loved that. I thought that was really cool. I'm really interested to see where his agendas really lie because when we saw him turn off Alan's machine, we kind of thought he was just trying to get rid of Alan. But it kind of sounds like he was hoping that what would happen, that did end up happening, was that he would get stronger and he might be able to actually fend for himself against Viltrumites now, and that he's going to need his help along with Mark's and potentially some other people out there. And I'm sure Mark's new brother, stepbrother, whatever you want to call him, I'm sure he's going to also play a role in this intergalactic war at some point. But yeah, that was really cool to see. So I'm really excited to see where they go with that little in credit scene that we got there.
yeah, which I didn't want to leave off without talking about maybe your favorite character. So that's why I came back
Yeah,
to it.
man, I love that dude.
But you
He's
were
the
also
best.
telling me something right before the show, a little piece of Star Wars news that may be interesting to some people. I know the Bad Batch is going on right now. We're not going to do a review of the last episode today. Probably going to switch that back on next week. But what you wouldn't mind breaking down that news for the audience?
Yeah, for sure. So before we get into that, obviously, I've really been enjoying the Bad Batch. I thought the last 2 episodes we got this past week were really, really cool. But the cool little bit of information that I'm hearing being leaked through these grapevines is, as we all know, this is season 3 is the final season of the Bad Batch. But what's exciting about that is it sounds like the reason why they're kind of potentially cutting it short in a lot of people's minds, and in my mind, I was like, man, only 3 seasons. Well, it sounds like Dave Filoni has another animated series coming along that's going to be centered around the clones and is potentially going to take place immediately after the season finale of the Bad Batch. And we're going to get to see some new characters, and we're also going to get to see some characters that we know and love. And it sounds like maybe potentially the main character is going to be Rex and him and his crew and how they're trying to save clones and how they're potentially starting, the Rebel Alliance before the Rebel Alliance in the original trilogy, which is really exciting. I think that would just be an awesome, awesome way to continue this Clone Wars storyline because, as everyone knows, the Clone Wars is some of the best parts of Star Wars. So potentially having it be done after this Bad Batch season and not really knowing if we were going to have any more to go with it was really sad. So even though these aren't confirmed or anything like that, it is really exciting to know that they are thinking about it and it is at least a rumor rather than just being dead quiet.
Yeah. Now this news comes semi I guess I'm not in love with this news. Um and I think we touched on it before, but I kind of would like to step away from the original trilogies, the original prequels, and kind of go tell some new stories. We know where Rex ends up. You know, we know how he ends up in the Ahsoka in the Rebels series. We know we get to see him there and what he's doing, what he's been up to. You know, those holes don't necessarily need to be filled. Now I'm not upset and angry about it, but I do wish that maybe we got some more stories outside of this universe or this storyline in animated form, because it is such a free form piece of content that you can take bigger risk with, that you can show more with, and kind of take a risk of further down the future, one of the different galaxy that Ahsoka went to, or go way back in the past. Tell a story of somebody we don't know. And so that's kind of how I take this news, as in, yeah, good, we're getting more Star Wars, but man, I kind of would like them to step in a new direction.
Well, the good thing for you is at the time of filming this video, the next day after or this podcast, the next day, actually tomorrow, we are supposed to be getting the first trailer for the Acolyte. So you should be excited about that because that's going to be a brand new story taking place in the Old Republic. So we really shouldn't know any of those characters unless maybe Dave Filoni or any of those guys wanted to take some, um, from those Legends books that we've gotten in the past. They could use some inspiration from that. But we are supposed to be getting that trailer tomorrow. So that'll be really cool to kind of see where that's looking like, because it's slated to come out later this year. So we got to start getting some trailers for it, and tomorrow is going to be the first one. So I'm super excited to see what that looks like.
Well, that is super exciting. I actually had no clue. I thought I saw something about Acolyte. Maybe you actually even posted about it. Did you post
Yeah,
about it on
today I
there?
did. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's where I saw it. So that is super exciting. But we'll see. I did read some stuff about the creator of that show that kind of put a bummer on it for me, that maybe they're not actually Star Wars fans. Um, so I'm hoping that was just a bad write up for the show creator, because it's not Dave Filoni at the helm of that one.
No, it's not. But he does have a lot of say in what is put into Star Wars now with that recent promotion he got. So if there was
Right,
some stuff he really, really didn't like, he
but this was
could have
done well
maybe
before
executed.
him.
Oh, it was, but he does have the executive decision now to say, "Hey, we need to cut that scene out of there because it just doesn't make sense for Star Wars." Now, whether how much he wants to dabble into someone else's creation, because that is one thing he explicitly said when he took this job, was that he did not want to take away from other people's creative inspirations and things like that. So he might not dabble too much in it, but if there's something that's really not Star Wars, I do have faith that maybe he would have had some say, in the final cuts of the show, what we actually get to see, because we're still a few months out from it. Tomorrow is just the trailer for it. So I think we will find out a lot tomorrow.
Well, I'm excited to see how it is, and just so y'all know, we are moving to a new format for podcast. We are trying to do our releases on Tuesday morning. So if you like that format, let us know. If you like a different date of release, how we were doing it Sunday night, Monday morning, just trying to be a little bit more consistent with it to make sure we can get one out on the same day every week. So, with that, I did want to step into the last segment of today's show, and that's what's old that's new. I kind of just named this in the pre-planning, and kind of touch on what we're taking in that's not new releases. Jacob, I know your computer's down. You're not able to play any video games, so you clearly have to be watching something. And there's just not that much new content to keep you activated all week. What's going on?
Dude, to be honest with you, I don't know what I've been doing. Like, I feel like there's a lot of time where I'm just not doing anything. One of the things I have been watching, though, I talked about it a little bit in the past. I think maybe I mentioned it on the podcast. I did start watching My Hero Academia, which is my first anime I've ever watched. Absolutely love it. I'm sure if you guys out there have seen it, you know what I'm talking about. It is literally some of the best show, anything I've ever seen. Absolutely love it. The story is amazing. It is so entertaining. The combat is awesome. If you haven't watched it and you are a fan of animes, I don't know what you're doing, because you have got to watch this show. And even if you're not a fan of animes and you didn't think you would ever like them, I was in that same boat. And I finally gave this one a chance, and it's honestly up there with one of my favorite shows of all time already. I'd easily put it in my top 5 already. It's that good. So
Wow.
I'm
Top
loving it.
5.
Yes, I'm just started season 3. Super super fun to watch. Super good. The characters are really fun. It's just such a cool story. Like I said, give it a shot if you haven't. You can watch it in English if you don't want to read subtitles. If you like subtitles, you can watch it in Japanese, which is the way I like doing it, because I feel like the emotion of the characters is better in their native language and all that. But I do hear that the voice actors for the English dub are really really good too. So I don't think you'll be missing out too much if you decide to go that route. But give it a chance. It is so good. It has some of the coolest characters ever written, in my opinion, and they are just awesome characters. The arcs are amazing, and it's awesome. So give it a chance. I think you would really like it, especially if you're an anime fan. But if you're not, I think you could still enjoy it.
That's awesome. Well, that's super exciting. Yeah, I know you told me about that a while back, and that's something that I haven't dabbled into. Um, for me personally, we're rewatching Avatar: The Last Airbender, the animated series. The live action put such a dull taste in my mouth. I had to get some good Avatar in somewhere. And then I recently picked up Thor: God of Thunder, the God Butcher storyline in comic books, and
Okay,
that
cool.
is absolutely incredible. It actually makes me despise Love and Thunder.
That was a movie you kind of did enjoy too, so that's got to be
I
a little bittersweet.
I did enjoy it, but man, after seeing the story that's laid out, and I'm not even halfway through it, um, but it's just so well done. It's really cool. Gore is substantial. He is absolutely a force to be reckoned with. The story covers millennia, like so. It starts with Thor back in like 986 BC, um, and then travels throughout, you know, the entire, it's telling the story in 3 different sections: present day Thor, past Thor, and then future Thor, who's still battling Gore at that time. So it's really, really cool to kind of see the story unfold in the way they're telling it, and then just how man, I'm losing the word, but just menacing Gore is in this, and what he's able to do to these other small G gods is pretty awesome. So I've really been enjoying that, and definitely something. If you haven't done any Thor comics, I would recommend this one. It's a really good read so far.
Well, speaking of comics, one thing that I actually started reading was they actually had the Last Ronin 2 come out, which has been really fun. If you guys weren't familiar with that storyline, it is really, really good. I've only read the first issue of that new comic, but it's the Last Ronin 2 Re-Evolution. Really, really fun storyline that they're going with. I won't say anything about it because I know there's some of you out there that might not have even read the Last Ronin yet, and I don't want to spoil one of the greatest Ninja Turtle stories ever told for you. But yeah, the Last Ronin 2 has been really fun to read also.
Oh, that's awesome! I know you were super excited for that when that got announced that was coming out. I didn't know it came out already.
Yeah, they just had the first comic come out. I think it was just a couple weeks ago. I think the second one might even be out by now. I haven't looked too much into it. I don't have a local comic shop, so it's hard for me to go get that stuff. So usually I have to wait till I go on a little trip or something, and I stockpile on a bunch of stuff and read through it till I get to go back again. But yeah, I've read the first one, really, really liked it. So that's fun. And I'm still waiting on that Last Ronin video game. I've heard some bad things that studio might be going through financial hardships and all those things. I don't want that to happen. So you guys keep your fingers crossed so we get some more Last Ronin content, whether that be in comic form or video game form or something, because it's so cool.
Any way Jacob can take it, he will be happy with some Last Ronin.
Yes.
I know you.
Yeah.
That is by far your favorite comic book that you've read, and probably your favorite IP, off the beaten path. Which I would say, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles isn't really super common. Would you
I
agree with that
think,
statement?
I don't know, man. It's pretty big, but probably, I think when you think about, the big IPs out there, we think of Marvel, Star Wars, stuff like that, Lord of the Rings. Now Dune, I guess, is probably, etching its way into that. Um, hemisphere, I would say I could kind of see where you're coming from. And Ninja Turtle still has a really big following. Obviously, not as big as it used to be, but there's still a lot of big fans out there of this stuff. So
Yeah, I'm not
yeah, I'd
saying
probably agree.
it's
Yeah, it's not, I
minuscule.
know what you're saying, but yeah, I probably, if I had to say, because Stranger Things is really, really big. So probably, yeah, you could probably go with that.
Well, we'll go with it. I like being right. So, but with that, we got a little bit shorter of an episode for you guys this week. Just a episode. We try not to make our episode breakdowns super long. Just don't want you to have to listen to a breakdown that's as long as the show. So let us know what y'all
We're
think.
not knowledgeable enough to break down these shows that long. I think we just like
Especially with
to.
Invincible.
Yeah, so there's so many people out there that probably listen to this and they're like, "Oh, these bunch of idiots! They could just read the comic and find out what happens." But no, it's not as fun. We
It's
like
not
to
as
see it
fun.
as it comes.
That's right. There's a reason I haven't read Dune. There's a reason I haven't read Invincible, and I've been tempted. I've been so tempted. It's
I've
been in my
started
hand to purchase at the comic book store, and I said, you know what? I'll just wait.
So I've started to get to the point where I actually am doing this with some like anime stuff that I want to start watching because I've liked My Hero so much. I'll read what I've watched. So like for instance, for Invincible, I've read the comic up to where we're at now, and there's some little differences here and there, but I will not let myself go past that point because I want to watch it and experience it, and then go back to the comic and see how it's different and stuff like that. So
Oh,
that's
that's
kind of where I've
funny.
gotten at with that.
Wow, that's awesome. I wish I had that kind of willpower, but my willpower stops when I buy it because then it would just be I just
Because you
read
got to
it.
read it.
I just read it.
Yep.
I have it. Why wouldn't I read it? So
That's good. That's
I
good.
just my willpower will be leaving it on the shelf and not crossing that threshold. But with
That's pretty good
that,
willpower too. Then.
well, different type. But with
Yep.
that, we'll close out. Hope y'all reach out. Hope y'all give us some comments. If you could drop a show rating if you're enjoying us, let us know. We'd love to boost those ratings on the all the platforms. So we find us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon. I think we're on Amazon and a few others. But with that, Weekly Fix is out. Thanks for listening.